last week, Nigeria's female football team, the Super Falcons, were verbally assaulted by clearly a frustrated Nigerian citizen in Vienna, Austria. The unidentified man in a viral video accused the Super Falcons of failing the Nigerian youth for representing a terrorist government presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, who he claimed was kidnapping Nigerian youth and killing them. Appalled at the incident which took place on board the train, the Nigerian Football Federation promised to unmask the man and report the incident to the world governing body, that's FIFA, and the Austrian authorities. So joining us now to update on us on what has been done to bring this man to book, the Nigerian medal chances, I should say, at the ongoing Tokyo Olympics is the president of Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick. He'll also be bringing us up to speed on the forthcoming coronation of the Olu of Warri-designate, Prince Tsola Emiko. Welcome to the show, Mr. Pinnick. Have you unmasked this man? And Super Eagles will begin the second round of 2022 World Cup qualifying tournaments on September 3rd in Lagos against Liberia. And powerhouses like Senegal, Cameroon, Algeria all vie for the final spot. What are the Super Eagles' chances? But have you unmasked who this man is, and have you brought him to book?
Yeah, good morning. I always very thankful for coming to this citadel of media excellence. We are working very closely with the Austrian authorities. I had to put my general secretary on the plane because there are some correspondences we needed to sign. We've also communicated with FIFA. You see, what we try to do in the Federation is not just defending the teams, defending the country on the pitch of play. We also prepare our players to defend the country off the pitch of play. That's why you see the girls. You saw the girls, they stood up to this guy, because football is not politics. Football is entertainment, is recreation, is empowering, is everything. But what we try to do is to get off, to isolate all this kind of, get ourselves not involved in this kind of distant acts. Is condemnable, and we'll work religiously, assiduously, materially in ensuring that we get this guy, because we don't want such to happen again, because we're always traveling. Because if this happens, another person might take the opportunity, the privilege of doing something even worse. So we need to nip this in the bud, and I can assure you, the Nigerian community, even in Austria and some neighboring countries like Germany, Poland, they are working with us. And I can assure you, there are so many information I cannot divulge because they are all security information. But I can assure you, in the nearest future, we'll bring this guy to book.
Just before we go to the other question Ufa had asked you, I wanted to stay on this a bit. Lessons that have been learned here, and I want you to explain to those who may not understand, because initially the story was that they were in a public bus, but as it is, they were in a train. However, how do we prevent this from recurring? Because nobody predicted this ugly incident could have happened. But there are those who are questioning why they were in public transport.
Even the biggest teams in Europe, public transport is a very civilized way of commuting or traveling in Europe or in other civilized climes. And this day, they had like a break from the training, and they decided to visit the city center, and they all entrained. So I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. Even going on a train is part of entertainment, it's part of recreation, in part of sightseeing. That was a tram, and anybody could get into a tram. I mean, I recall when the Super Eagles, when we went for a training a couple of years ago, Leicester, where they were coming to play, we saw them on a train. So it's not as if it's anything that is in civilized climes generally, and people are trained to go to various destinations.
Well, Amaju Pinnick, it's good to see you again. Two quick questions. Two quick questions.
Whenever you want to talk, I panic, eh? Because you're a master of the game.
No. I'm just doing my job. I'm just a struggling journalist. Quickly. Now, the paucity of funds has led to the Ministry of Sports feeding a lean contingent to the Olympics. 60 persons participating in 10 games. Now, how do we address this challenge of funding for our national teams once and for all? Even the basketball team had to go cap in hand, GoFundMe, to be able to address logistics and transportation issues. And I know we're talking about sports, but there's also a burning issue in Iwere Kingdom, you know, where you come from. And you've been on this program before to say, oh, there will be peace, there will be reconciliation, and Ayiri Emame, the Ologoshere, that you guys will talk to him as a brother and there will be no issue. But he has gone to court now to stop the coronation of the, the Oba-elect.
Let's talk about sports first. Let's talk about football.
No, but I also want you to talk about that because it's in the papers today.
Listen, I will come to that. And I can assure you there's no issue on that.
How? He's gone to court. He has sued the Olori Ebi. He has sued the Ginowa.
I will come to that. There are a lot of things playing out. I will come to that. Okay. Just trust me, I'm an authority in that. I'll come to that.
Okay. Let's talk sports first then.
Yeah, so I want to tell you that our main goal right now in the Federation is to qualify for the World Cup. We know if the government provides the enabling environment, we'll be able to raise funds because sports is not supposed to be sponsored solely by government. But right now, that atmosphere has been very conducive for us. It's a tight call, especially going to the World Cup, considering the number of teams that are going to go. If you look at the teams, South Africa did not qualify for the Nations Cup. They said 100% they must go to the World Cup. The same thing that happened to Nigeria a couple of years ago. Now you have South Africa, you have Senegal, you have Cote d'Ivoire, you have Algeria, the defending champions of AFCON. And of course, you have Morocco, a new super force. Then you have Ghana, you have Cote d'Ivoire, you have Cameroon. You have all these countries. Then you also have countries that believe that if Togo and Angola at a point could go to the World Cup, we can also go to the World Cup. Gabon, so many other countries, Equatorial Guinea. So it's going to be a very tough call. But the good news about us is that our players are young, enterprising, very patriotic, and they love this country. They want to give their best for the country. That's just one thing that's counting for us. The second thing that is also counting for us is that we have some very notable Nigerians that are truly and really wanting to support us. Because it is not a tea party. It's going to be very huge in terms of cost, because we're going to be flying, back and forth. And we also, these Nigerians, I say, it's not just saying they're giving us, they're also helping us talk to one or two companies, and they are very, very concerned about what is going on. So we'll get there, but ultimately, like I said, two things that can count for us. Let the enabling environment continue. The Nigerian elite, or the corporates in Nigeria, also know the values of sports to their businesses. And of course, when that comes in, there'll be a lot of money in sports, even without looking at government. That I can assure you.
Yeah, but the other question about the Olu of Warri and the politics around that, and Ayiri Emame going to court.
I believe you will give me a lot of time to talk about that, because the Ayiri that went to court is not the Ayiri that I know. The Ayiri that I know is somebody that has empowered so many people beyond even the Shekiri land. The Ayiri that I know is somebody that has stood firm for Shekiri, somebody that has been extremely supportive, or a major defender of the Iwere Kingdom. So I believe he will need to redefine and rediscover himself, because what is going on, to me, we call that, personally I would call that as a political scientist, I would call that what's called a deep-seated sociopathy, which is rather, which is alien to the Shekiri Kingdom, that I can tell you, to the Warri Kingdom, so to speak. So it is very sad. You can see me very proudly prostrating to our Ogiame, not even the Omoba, that I want to explain to you, because you see, once you go through all the processes, especially going through the enclave, the spiritual enclave of Ijala, and coming out unscathed. If you go into the enclave called Ijala, that is that's my wife. That's the royal cemetery and the royal enclave of the Warri Kingdom. If you go into that enclave and you come out, two things that count. Is an affirmation of the oracle, which is even seen in the edict as the last. It's like what is called central bank, the lender of last resort. It's like that particular part of is without the oracle affirming you, you cannot be an Olu. So that is an acceptance by the oracle going into that enclave and coming out unscathed. And the first set of persons that he will meet, in fact, the chief priest in the Shekiri will say Fi, which means greeting him, no more Omoba, now Ogiame. which of course is the Olu. So whatever, Kwame, so listen, so that was exactly what we did. So when he came out, his first set of chiefs that he met greeted the appellation had changed from Omoba to Ogiame because he has performed the most critical rudiment of the traditional rites, which he did. And he came home, he went through A to Z of the process. So to me, what you're going to see on the 21st of August is merely ceremonial. It's like what they do in the US during an electoral year. In the US, by their constitution, on the 20th of the year preceding the election, on the 20th, by the 12 noon on the bank, whether the president of the US swears to an oath or not, automatically becomes the president of the US. So in our own kingdom, once you go to Ijalan out, automatically you become the Olu of Warri, and so that is it. So whatever you're going to see is mere ceremonial. But one thing I can assure you, there will be a lot of reconciliation, which is still going on. It has happened before in our land. In 1951, I can tell you, in 1951, when the Erejua II was going to be crowned, Erejua II, my father was one of his favorite chiefs. In fact, he knew all of us by our name, Amaju, Ete, Omaomi, everybody. He was a very cerebral, very intelligent king. When he was going to be crowned in 1951, his brother felt he should be crowned, and he went to Ode Shekiri. And he went with all sorts of people chanting all kinds of songs. The district officer then got him arrested, chased him away, and at the end of the day, that was quite extreme. But at the end of the day, there was reconciliation. And the people that often fought against him became his strongest defenders and supporters. So we have seen this kind of thing, so that's why we are not shaking. I can assure you, everything will go on as planned. On the 21st is sacrosanct. There are a lot of moves, and there will be reconciliation, there will be begging for forgiveness, and there will be forgiveness, and we'll move on as one indivisible unit. The Shekiri nation is very, very unique, and I've said it. So the kingship is something that is highly sought after. It's not just, like I said, apart from the fact that we are blessed with human and material resources, you can imagine the uniqueness in terms of having one king, one culture, and one language. You can see it. Then the Ogiame as it is now, the Ogiame that you can see there, he was groomed. He was born, nurtured, groomed, conditioned, primed to be a king. And you can see that, and everybody, that's why I'm telling you 99.9% of a Warri kingdom. If monarchy was democracy, Ogiame will have 99.9% votes. But unfortunately, it's not. But I can assure you, you cannot govern an empty palace. You cannot govern an empty kingdom. The subjects have said, this is the man. And we are going ahead. Nothing stops us, by God's grace. You see it. It's going to be a major event. As I speak to you, the event planners are there in Ode Shekiri. They're planning. Everything is going on. I'm moving one of my boats to Warri. So we are going on with that. You see, if you look at even the court cases, even though I don't want to be subjudice, there are a lot of complications. But I don't want to speak about it because, of course, it's subjudice. So, but I can tell you, we are going to go ahead. Okay. Let me wait for your next question.
You keep giving these assurances of a rapprochement, but he's also challenging his suspension as the Olugboshere. But Mr. Amaju Pinnick, stay with us. We'll take a break now. When we return, perhaps we will respond to that aspect of the issue, as well as the Olympics and Nigeria's chances at the Olympics. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching The Morning Show here on the Rise News, and we have with us in our Lagos studios the president of the NFF, Amaju Pinnick. Thank you so much for staying with us, Mr. Pinnick. Before the break, we're speaking about the controversy surrounding the emergence of the Olu-designate. And the Olugboshere has gone to court. You've been speaking elaborately on this matter. In fact, some people will wonder why you're still Mr. Amaju Pinnick and not Chief Pinnick. But I wanted to talk about the aspect because he's in court to challenge not only the emergence of the Olu-designate, he's also challenging his suspension as the Olugboshere, which is otherwise known as the Prime Minister. What do you have to say to that? Is there a rapprochement for that, or is it going to be all legal solution to the crisis? And the Olympics, just looking at the tables, as at this moment, Japan is leading the medals table, and Tunisia is the only African country making it to the table at the moment. Still early days. But where do you see the medals coming in for Nigeria?
It's a tough call. You should understand that the pandemic actually affected preparations globally. By now, if you had looked at the Olympics some 4 years ago or 5 years ago, as it were, you would have seen countries like China, like 30, 40 gold medals. So generally, and I'm not going to give an excuse, things have been very tough, but the ministry and the government put in their best in the enterprise of preparing the team. And I believe somehow we might be looking at wrestling. On the Korea, she has been doing very well. We just hope. Then even athletics, you know, blessing, Essay is my daughter, you know, and I believe something will come out from this country because I think we need it at this time, you know. But the ministry, the government, they put in a lot, you know, in preparing the team in spite of the pandemic. So let's just hope and pray, you know. Then going back to why possibly I'm not a chief. Two of the greatest Ishekiri leaders in the past remained Mr. till they died. Alfred Iwane and Mr. J.O. Ayomike, J.O.S. Ayomike, my mom's immediate elder brother. In fact, one of the greatest historians of the Iwere kingdom. They died a Mr. It's not because they didn't want the chieftaincy title, but because they just believed they can walk more from behind, and which they did, you know. My uncle, in 1976, he was offered the role of the Ologoshere, and you cannot turn down when something is offered. It tactically avoided being made Ologoshere. You can see that if my uncle, my mom's biological elder brother, could be made Ologoshere, it means I also am in that line of Ologoshere. But guess what? That is not our thinking. That's not our direction. And really and truly, I'll do the same thing my uncle did. If you look at our history, you know, my great-great-granddad was called Aloba. He was one of the favorite children of Owangwe. He gave birth to Agberen. Agberen gave birth to Erua. Erua gave birth to my grandmother, Nebrao. So we are from that line of the Ologoshere family. But guess what? We are doing it because we love the race, not because we want any position. We believe in that it's not everybody. There are some people that are even outside this government. They are not owning any key position, but they have more strength than even people in government. So that's the kind of things that work. Just work from behind and enable your ethnic nationality. And that's exactly what we are doing. So really and truly, I will support anybody that wants to do, but an Ishekiri man remains an Ishekiri man. You recall I was in UK about 3 weeks ago. I had the privilege of talking with the Prime Minister of Britain in the stadium. While we're talking, he asked, "Where are you from?" "You're Nigerian." I said, "I'm Ishekiri." He said, "Where is that?" You know, I said, "From the Niger Delta, from the south of Nigeria." I said, "Where's Shell?" Then he laughed, you know. If he didn't know Ishekiri before, then he now knows that there's an ethnic nationality called Ishekiri. Yeah. That's the beauty of spreading the gospel of your race, of your nationality. So I can go on and on, but I can assure you, I don't want to sound subjudice whether I went to court to stop this. Like I said, if the cases are in court, let the court decide. Okay. But I can assure you, if the court decision will not be to stop the coronation.
Okay, Mr.
That I can assure you. It will not be the coronation will go on, and there will be genuine, I'm telling you, there will be genuine reconciliation of all nationalities. Because, like I told you, the Ayire Mami that I know loves his people, loves the Ishekiri nation.
Okay, Mr. Pinnick.
He will find his path to truth, he will find his path to peace and harmony.
Mr. Pinnick.
And all the other people behind him will come as one indivisible unit.
Mr. Pinnick, thank you so much for that. Let's talk about qualifiers, football qualifiers. What's the preparedness of the Super Eagles for that?
I've just said it. We are preparing very well. You see, we've played in all the available FIFA windows. We have tried in some new players. And we're happy with some of the things that we have seen.
Okay.
And like at this period, we are not going to be talking about our tactics, the number of players, because it's a very dicey and tricky situation.
Okay.
But I can assure you, we'll do our best in ensuring that we qualify Nigeria for the World Cup. It's going to be a very, very tough call, very, very tough, considering the caliber of teams that are still among the 20 teams remaining. So it's going to be a tough, tough call. Even Cape Verde defeated Cameroon 3-0.
Okay.
Cameroon that we lost to by 1. So it's not easy. And we are playing Liberia on the 3rd. Then on the 7th, we are going to Cape Verde to play. Then coming home in October and November to play Central African Republic, then going away to them.
Okay.
Then before we play our last game, therefore we now play the final game head-to-head in March, So it's going to be tough.
Okay, Mr. Pinnick, real quickly, please clarify for me. When we had that loss to Mexico, you said some things about local and home-based players. You said we'll not allow them go play in Europe. We'll let them stay until they develop. It's only the very best clubs. Some people have reacted. Taribo has said no, that you shouldn't have said that, because these players, they get exposure even if they go to the elite list of leagues.
Let me stop you. I don't have any regret saying what I said. I didn't say going to Europe. Real Madrid is in Europe. Arsenal is in Europe. Manchester United, Barcelona, PSG, Villarreal, Lille, Valencia, they're all in Europe. What I said is that our players shouldn't just wake up, played in the league here. The next thing you hear, an agent comes to them. The agent, the only thing they're interested in is their 20, 25, 30%, and the subsequent transfer fees. And they ship these players to Belarus, to different countries. Look at, till tomorrow, we're still trying to grapple with a Nigerian that was killed in Belarus, a Nigerian player. They didn't write to you. They didn't write to Arise. They wrote to the Nigerian Football Federation. We didn't know how the guy got there, how the player got there. So if we have a way, we always advise them. Even China, I'm not going to mention his name, one of our key players. He has played for the national team. He has played for so many teams in Europe, top teams in English Premier League. Till today, he cannot play football because of what they did to him in China. Do you think we're excited about that? Do you know what we see? You don't see what we see. But I can assure you, whatever we are doing is to protect the integrity of this country, is to protect the sovereignty of this country, is to make our players know that it might not be rosy today, but tomorrow it will be rosy. Wow. Beautiful roses, they always say, grow on thorny plants. But you can be rest assured that we're not doing anything because we want to. We've seen things that you don't see. A player will just wake up and say they are going to India, they are going to Vietnam, they are going to. Then the next thing you hear that, oh, this player is being thrown out, this player sleeps on the street, this player sleeps under the bridge. The player constitutes nuisance in those countries because they are desperate. When they make 2 or 3 skills, they picture them and they ship them. So there are a lot of things going on. But because of what we are doing within our own intelligence in the Nigerian Football Federation, we do not want to come out openly. But the idea was, look at the players. We just picked them up within a few days, and they went and they played a Mexico Team A. A Mexico Team A, the champions of CONCACAF. Even though they did not meet our expectations, but I don't think they played extremely badly, because that's just a team. Mexico cannot play our Team A. That one is setting. And we are going, like I told them, I was talking to my colleague, the president. He said, listen, we are going to come back and play with our Team A and also humiliate you the way you humiliated us. We're just laughing about it. So that is the truth. So, but football is all about harmony. It's all about discovery. It's about looking at the new things that are going to go. But what are we taking home from that game in Mexico? That there are also some players, even in our league, I don't want to call it our local league, our domestic league, that are still very good. So you need to hold your own, otherwise you will swap for another person. And that's exactly what we are going to do. We keep this team. By God's grace, just by coming into the studio, I got a call, from Baltimore. Of course, they're arranging a four-nation invitational sometime in October. And, they were trying to sound me out whether they should still include Canada or bring in an African team. So it will be like an all-African affair. Of course, I'll talk for Africa as a member of the CAF Executive Committee. So we are working on that. So with this same team, with plus and minus 2-3 players, we go and also try themselves out. So the next CHAN, we know we are going to win and lift that trophy by God's grace. It's not just qualifying from here. That one will be a thing of the past. Our goal is to prepare all our senior teams. And that team will just be like, not just a feeders team to the Super Eagles, but whenever they are traveling, at least they should go to A-rated or highly B-rated teams.
Well, thank you very much. Amaju Pinnick, for joining us. I hope that a day will come when the president of the Nigeria Football Federation meets another world leader and is asked, where are you from? He will not say, I'm Ishekiri. He will say, I'm a Nigerian.
No, he said, no. The question is, I'm a Nigerian. He said, you of course introduced me as a Nigerian. He said, where are you from in Nigeria? Okay. Will I say I'm from the West or from the North when I'm from Ishek? No, I won't say that.
Okay, I get your point. Your nationalism is noted. Thank you very much indeed.